Hello, everyone. Jessica Peterson here with Dr. Watkins out in Texas. Good morning, Dr. Watkins.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing awesome. I love to start off every conversation. Please share with us something awesome about your day.
Well, the best, I guess this morning, I'll start with this morning. Every morning, the best way to start my day every day is I open car doors at elementary schools. So I started off with kids. So anything past that is really a downward spiral because I'm with kids early in the morning. So I had a little one, a 5-year-old, reach out to me and say, come up, and I'm the luckiest person in the world. I get hugs. So, and say, Dr. Watkins, I know what you do, because sometimes the little ones really don't know what the superintendent is. And they go, you meet with superheroes at night and talk about money. And I just started laughing. So I had to relay that to my school board. I said, you've been elevated to now superheroes. So they got a kick out of that. So that was a good way to start my day with a smile. I mean, most of my days start out like that, with some fun little whatever from our little ones. But it's really great. One other thing I did, ever since, as I share with you, we had 897 kids, I believe, when I got here, and now we're over 8,000. Well, when I got here, I started, I'm going to send a birthday note home to every kid when it's their birthday. Well, I still do that. 8,000 kids later, but even when I'm starting to feel weak, that is this something I really need to continue or what? It's not a little kid. It'll be a high school kid. It'll be a 17-year-old boy walking down the hallway and come up to me and high-five me. Dr. Watkins, I just got your birthday letter again. Thank you so much. So they suck me back in. I can't get it. That's just the best kind of reinforcement of me staying connected with the kids. I really enjoy it. Wow,
that's amazing. I'm trying to do the math. I'm such a numbers, time efficient person because, we've had this conversation before. 30 seconds a day is over 3 hours a year. So how long does it take you each day do you dedicate to those cards?
Well, it's I do them in batches. So it's anytime I have idle time in the morning or on weekends or whatever else to get those home to the kids. So it's sometimes, so I try to do them a week at a time. If I was smarter, I would do them all over the summer and have the entire year. But I've never been accused of being that bright. So that and it helps me because if I did them, I've reasoned that out in my mind, because if I do them over the summer, I like doing them weekly. So when I see them on campuses, it's still fresh in my mind. So I can also say, hey, your birthday's in 2 days. And they just look at me like, how in the world do you know that still? So that's why I want to sort of be in the moment when I send the birthdays out.
I totally agree on being in the moment. And no matter what it is, birthday cards or whatever, totally about being in the moment.
Yes.
So you mentioned you're a superintendent. So how did you evolve, Dr. Watkins, into this whole journey in your life?
Well, not by design. I don't know that anyone aspires to be superintendent. I'll be honest with you.
I've never heard that. I have to be honest. Not.
I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I mean, that's I was blessed to have very impactful people in my life growing up that were coaches. And I was fortunate enough to play a sport in college, so it continued into my college years. And so I wanted to coach. I wanted to stay in athletics. I didn't know that I really wanted to teach until I got my first job and go, man, I love this teaching thing. This is phenomenal. So I did that for a short period of time. And I had a principal he was my former high school baseball coach. Gave me my first job when he was a principal and gave me my first teaching and coaching job. And he just said, okay, my first day as a teacher, he goes, you're going to start your master's now. I go, well, I just got out. And he goes, no, you're going to start it now, because whether you know it or not, someday you're going to be an administrator. I was going, yes, sir. He's coaching me. Whatever he says, I do. Yeah. Yes. And I so appreciate that. Well, in 3.5 short years, I got an opportunity to be an assistant principal at a middle school. And that was a short stint. 2 years after that, I was principal. So I think I was 25 when I had my first principal job. It was sort of a unique thing because over half of that staff had been teaching longer than I had been living. So,
Wow.
so it was a great opportunity, tremendous. I have the best memories and maybe some of the best ties with educators still from those days when I was a pup, and they still embraced me. I mean, I've always just approached any of my leadership positions as, and it really worked well for me then, is, okay, my job is to serve you, not you to serve me. So instead of as a 25-year-old principal, me cracking the whip, say, you got to do this, my job was to do what I needed to do to work for them so they could be awesome for kids. And so that style worked well with that staff. And pretty much, even though I've now gotten older, I get slapped in the face with reality when we have convocation. It used to be I was still almost always the youngest person in the room, and now I'm not. I'm older than the majority of the teachers and everything else. My mind still struggles with that. But so I go from assistant principal to principal, and the way that happens, I'm in the classroom as a teacher, and I'm going, you get frustrated with what is happening in another classroom or another classroom you don't have any control over. Then you become a principal, and it sort of carries over. You go, I have control over my campus, but there's other campuses that I think should be doing things differently. So then it goes into central admin. So it naturally evolves as you are wanting to make sure all kids are getting the best of people and the best of programs and opportunities. So that's how it's moved up. I've been a superintendent for 16 years. This is my 14th year in Prosper. And so I think the average tenure for a superintendent in Texas is like 3.1 years. So I guess I'm a curve buster that way. I've enjoyed my time here and continue to enjoy it. The best thing, I'm not a good maintenance man. I'm constantly wanting us to be better and for new challenges. And Prosper is a new district. I mentioned our growth factor. Prosper is really a new district every year.
Wow.
Because of our challenges and everything else. So it keeps me professionally fed to where I don't feel like I need to go anywhere else to fuel that part of my professional side.
Mm-hmm. Wow, fascinating. So many thoughts going through my head. Questions. So what do you think, you're past I love statistics. So past the 3.1, is that you said 3.1? Mm-hmm. So what do you think has helped you be past that 3.1 years?
Well, I think two things. One, I've been very blessed to have a school board that, and the board that hired me no longer is our school board. So, I mean, it's not like the same people who hired me 14 years ago, but the people who hired me and have then rotated off and new board members coming on, we share the same vision and goals and passion for how we want to serve our kids in our community. So that's a big part of it. A lot of times superintendents have to, when there's a board election, different opinions come in and maybe philosophies differ a little bit and they move on. Or who knows what some of the other reasons are. So I think a strong and consistent vision from our school board and me being in line with that. I've been here. This is wrapping up my 14th year. Prosper owes me nothing. I get frustrated with people who shake their fist in the air and say, I'm owed nothing. I've been very blessed to be here the time that I've been here, but I'm still a temporary person sitting in the seat that I sit in. And as long as I can be of any service to this community and they're good with that, I hope I can stay here. But there's times to where the political climate changes and expectations change, whatever it might be, and people need to move on. It's just, I've been very fortunate to be able to, quite frankly, grow with this community as we've exploded and been able to see it through.
So I'm dying to know, as a kid, what did you love to do as a kid? And if anybody knows, there's a pattern, I ask this in all of the interviews because there's really a tight correlation. What did you used to love as a kid, Dr. Watkins? Well,
I'm a fierce competitor. So anything that involved competition. I had two older brothers. So anything I could do to try to be with them and then ultimately outdo them, outcompete them, I still have, and it's sort of notorious around here. I still have a weekend basketball game. We play every weekend with it's some older guys and then students. So it's I still at age 51. I'm proud of being over half a century now. I'm an active person, and anything that had a ball, I was all about. But even if we didn't have a ball, we'd make something up in terms of competition and competing.
Okay. So that makes sense. You always want to strive to be better, to be better, which is awesome. So teaching what inspired you to want to be a teacher? Did you have a great teacher in your life, or?
Well, it was mostly coaches who were also teachers.
Yes.
But it was like I alluded to earlier. I knew I wanted to coach. When my professional aspirations in terms of professional baseball when those weren't going to pan out, and I am just a believer that maybe in the moment something might be painful, but I do believe in my life. I believe in everybody's life, but in my life, that everything that happens for a very specific reason, and there's something good on the other side that I don't know about. But baseball, to give you the 15-second version of how that works, when you play baseball in college, in a major college, you work to your junior year. That's your negotiating year to get drafted. Mm. And I was having the best junior year you can imagine. Through the first 25 games, I played for TCU, and through the first 25 games, and it could not have been better. It was going great. And I was an infielder, had a collision with a base runner at OU, and I woke up in the ambulance, going to the hospital, did all kinds of nerve damage in my shoulder, and essentially my professional aspirations were done. I still played my senior year, but those were done. Now, in the moment, for a 20-year-old, that was tough. I'm on my hands and knees, so thankful for that moment. In retrospect, because I would not have gone at that moment to the first job that I had to become a teacher and a coach, and my life just would not have evolved in the same way. And I can't imagine not knowing the kids, the students, the parents that have been in my life. So I'm so thankful for that injury. Wow. That happened that allowed me to go this direction. So yeah, I had coaches that always pushed, not all of them. But I did have three that I absolutely just worship is a strong word, but I absolutely just respected so much because they pushed me to be better than I thought I could be. And did it in a way, and they were three very different coaches. One was a very loving, tender, hearted coach, and the two others were not. I'll just say that they were a little more old school coaches, but there was no doubt in my mind they loved me, and so I wanted to do anything for them because, as harsh as they might have been, I still knew they cared about me, and that's sort of the magic of a great coach is someone who can, spit and sweat and bleed with you and gripe and everything else, but still deep down, that coach is pushing you to higher limits for yourself.
Absolutely. And you said something that was pretty powerful. Sometimes we look at like your injury, your shoulder, and look at it as devastation, but then you never know the positive that would come and evolve from it. You reminded me of an event in my life where, a position I'm in a company ran out in Georgia. So I came back home, but the blessing from that, shortly after I met my husband.
Yeah.
I never met him otherwise. So when people are going through any devastating moments and don't understand, just realize that sometimes it can turn out to be a huge blessing. And you just,
I don't know what to be true because I didn't live that other path, but I can't imagine my personal and professional life to be more fulfilling on the other path. I can't. I had the same scenario where I got my first job, ultimately met my wife. We've been married, just celebrated 25 years. We have 3 kids. I can't, there's no way that I can wrap my mind around the what if that would have happened. I'm thankful that if didn't happen. I'm thankful that, I was direct, my life took this path.
No, absolutely. So 25 years.
Yes.
What's your wife's name?
Kristen.
And how did you guys meet?
Yes, we met. It's really odd because we met, her grandfather and my dad were playing golf. They were golfers and everything else. And somehow, and I don't know the mechanics behind it, we ended up at the same church together for a while. And then it just, of course, I fell in love with Minnie. I know she didn't. I thought immediately that was going to be the person for me the rest of my life. I think I needed to do some persuading. But we dated for really not too terribly long and got married and started and got going with, we were married 4 years before we had kids. I think 4 years. I think that's right. Before we started our kids and we had a very specific plan. She's an only child. I'm not an only child. So I still wanted 5 or 6 or 10 kids. And of course, she's the wiser one. After 3, she finally said, okay, I think we're done. Now that I have a 17, 19, and 22-year-old, she's certainly the wiser one. Because I tell everybody all the time, everybody's going because my baby is a senior in high school, and I said, I'm looking forward to his graduation to move on. To go, don't be in a hurry to be an empty nester. I go, you don't understand. I love everybody else's children. I just struggle with my own. Everybody else's kids are real simple for me. It's just your own cause a different challenge on that.
That's hilarious. People always say, because I always imagine the day, I only have one kid, and I always imagine the day when she's out of the house and people say, oh, trust me, you'll be happy when that day comes. So you have to go through the teenage years. That's what I always hear. I think,
personal opinion, God wired us the right way, because I'm going to tell you, second semester of senior year, they don't have many redeeming qualities. So that is the separation. So
that's so funny.
It's less painful. So
that's gonna stick with me forever now, and I'm gonna share that with people when they always share that with me. So Dr. Watkins, what are your children's name? And if you don't mind, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Can you please share with us what you love about each one of them?
Hayden is my oldest, and he's 22. Oh, he's about to be 22, and he's a senior at TCU. I guess they were brainwashed since birth, since that's where I went. And he has 6 more hours before he graduates with a finance degree. And I tell you what, to give you a quick story about him, he was a football player. He was our middle linebacker, and the practice before the first game of his senior year. It's all about senior year, It's that's what kids live for in athletics. Leader of the team and everything. Practice, he breaks his forearm. A player hits it and breaks that bone in half. So we go to the orthopedic, and he says, "Yeah, it's going to take 10 to 12 weeks if we do this, or so many weeks if we do that." And of course, when you're 18-year-old. 6'2". Now, I make fun all the time because I pray that he's mine, but I'm 5'9" when I stand tall. But he's all mine. And when they start welling up, when the doctor said that, and he started welling up, and he looked at me, goes, and he looked back at the doctor, he goes. And then he looked back at me and goes, "Dad, I can't do that. I'm a senior. I can't not play." And he was, and so the doctor looked like, "Well, I'm sorry. I appreciate that, but you can't play." And I go, "Well, let me ask you this. Can he do more damage?" In other words, if he plays, is it something, long-term going to do something worse than what he goes? "No, it's broken. It's not going to be more broken. It's just pain tolerance." I said, "Okay, well, I'm not going to tell my kid what he can't handle." And so what we're coming, and the doctor goes, "Well," he goes, "you guys need to go home and talk about it, because I don't see any way of doing this." He goes, but he reconfirmed with me that there would be no more damage done. But he's just like, "No way, he's a middle linebacker. You use your arms and your hands. That can't happen." Well, so we're going home. And I look at Hayden and I said, son, I don't know how you can do this. You're the middle linebacker. You can't not have your hands. You can't not have your. And he looked at me. He turned to me, and this is the first time ever in his 18 years that he was anything other than respectful to me. And he goes, I tell you what, and it wasn't bad. It was really made me feel good. But he goes, Dad, he goes, I'm going to have the best year I've ever had. You and coach need to get your minds around that or leave me alone.
Wow.
And we look back forward and I was just thinking, okay, then. And we got with the went back to the doctor, and the trainer met with him on this thing. He had to wrap completely around his hand. He couldn't use his fingers. So he had to wrap it completely around his hand. It was a big old club thing. And to shorten the longer story, he played the entire season, was the defensive MVP of the district, all-state linebacker. And, the bad thing about getting older, you get emotional.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's okay. We've had others cry on here, so you're not alone.
Yeah, but that's goofy. So it's just I appreciate his whole life. He's just been a fighter. He's been, even when he messes up, and he does. I mean, he messes up frequently. He's not committed the big mess ups that I charged him with when he went to college. But he's at the end of the tunnel, and he can see the light, and he's a responsible young man now, and I'm just proud of him. And then there's my daughter, Kayla. She just graduated last year, so she's a freshman at TCU.
Okay.
And of course, I've raised my kids from birth the double standard. She's the favorite child, will always be the favorite child.
Why is that?
She's my sweetheart.
Oh, the girl. That's right, the girl.
So they don't know any different. They've just accepted that because I've told them all since birth that she's the one. And quite frankly, I joke to say, well, she's the son I always wanted because she does everything with me. She's an athlete too, was in high school. And she was on the state volleyball team and the softball team. And she is a competitive too. And she's the only one that works out with me. My boys won't, but she does everything with me. And she was home obviously for the holidays and left a note on my truck when she left. She goes, Dad, I can't wait for the summer so we can start daddy-daughter boot camp again. She and I do that together. And it's just, now she's athletic and she's smart mathematically and science, but she's my creative bird. She's the most artistic thing. Her art is unbelievable, and that's what she's studying, graphic design and marketing at TCU. And she is. I remember she came home one day, and it was right before middle school was about to start, and we said, "Baby, now you got to be ready. There's going to be some." She was upset that some of the kids were making fun of one of the girls, and what'd you do? She goes, there were boys, and I taught, I shoot them off. I got them away from her. I go, well, that's the perfect thing. I said, now you're going to have some of that targeted to you in middle school. I go, that's it's not a good thing. I go, but I hope it doesn't happen, but you got to be ready, for people to be mean to you. She started tearing up. She goes, why would anyone be mean to me? She goes, I love everybody. And she's 19, and she still
loves everybody. That's so wonderful. I would
feel that way. So, man, you get me talking about my kids, I get emotional.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. They're all good. So, and then there's my baby, Connor. And he's a senior at Prosper High School, and he's had a great maybe the greatest challenge. I'm the baby of three. He's the baby of three, and so his brother cast a big shadow, and trying to find his way and his path out from under older brother it's been tough for him. And he is now he is sworn off TCU, so He said, I'm not going to be a horned frog. So we're trying to evaluate his options on where he wants to go. Now, the one consistent thing with all three of my kids, now Connor came out, I will say this, Connor came out with a knot in his umbilical cord and wrapped around his neck. Ooh. So we call him our miracle baby. He had every reason to have a bad way in the birthing process. And I remember like it was yesterday, the doctor came in, checked out my wife and said, "You're about this. I'm going to go downstairs, do a hysterectomy. I'll come back up, do your epidural, and then we'll go from there." Well, the door shuts behind the doctor. My wife starts screaming about 10 seconds after that. The nurse looks, goes, "Gosh," tries to get the doctor on the phone. "You need to come up." I was just up there. No, he's coming. And so from the time that he thought was going to be several hours for Connor to come, it was every bit of 3 minutes after that Connor came out. And
oh no.
So he's been fast ever since. He's a quick little dude, and he is, bless his heart, he has hoped to grow into his brother. Over 6 foot, 200 pounds, and all this other stuff. Well, he grew into me. I go, "I'm sorry."
He grew into you. Really fast.
I go, "I'm sorry, son." I go, "This is all you got. I apologize." But he's bright. He's quick-witted. He's fun. I couldn't be any more proud and hopeful for him as he tries to pick his college and his next part of his life. So I'm a proud papa. They drive, all three of our kids drive us crazy. We over worry ridiculously about all of them. And so but that's the parent thing to do. And my deal with them as they go to college, I beg them and pray for them that they don't make a decision that alters the course of their life forever. That the mistakes that they make are fixable or undoable. And, so far they've done that. Because not that your life can't be a great life if one of those things happens that alters the course of it. It's just the goals that you have for yourself are going to be changed if this happens prematurely in your life, or you have to address these issues. So hopefully they'll have an opportunity to, through making good choices, try to remind my wife and me regularly that we've raised them the right way. They are, as much as we hate to admit it, really beyond our control now. And, we just need to be here to support them through the early parts of their adult life. Wow.
That's amazing. So did I miss it somehow? Connor, what does he aspire to be? Because I know we got the financial, the art. What's Connor?
Well, again, as much as he likes to crawl out from under his brothers, he thinks right now he wants to major in finance. I go, "Connor, you're basing that on nothing." I go, "You're basing that on that's what older brother's doing." I said, "So the good news is your first semester, or first year, you really don't have to pick a specific path." I fought it. I remember I had 5 majors before I majored in education. I remember like it was yesterday. My dad was in computers, which was not as much of an in thing, over 30 years ago, like it is now. And so I tried that. I'm majoring in geology. I majored in business. I majored because, hey, I wanted to be rich. That was my goal. And then I remember, and I called my dad, and I was crying. I go, "Dad, I don't want to be rich. I want to be happy. I want to teach and coach." And he goes, "Boy, I don't care what you do. Just do what you want to do." And so it was like such a burden. I didn't know it was a burden at the time, but it was such a burden lifted off that, oh, okay, finally, I'm this is what I'm going to do. So for me, you got 3 huge decisions to make in your life, and that's one of them. Is what do you want to do with it? And so, for my 17-year-old, I'm sure he's still going to be trying to figure that out as he gets ready to go into college and everything else. I don't know if I said, but the common denominator they all had was they wanted to attend schools that no one knew me, and no one knew they were a superintendent's kid. So anytime I say, hey, a lot of people are going to University of Arkansas, a lot of people are going here from Prosper, he goes, yeah, exactly. I don't want anybody to know me, and particularly know you. So I'm sure they don't know any differently in their life, because I've been in this position the bulk of their life, but it's tough on them. Anything that they do well, they don't get credit for, because it's if they start on a team, they're starting because I'm their dad. So they don't get credit for anything that they do. That's why I've raised them that you've got to be better than everybody else. You've got to be so much better. So that's beyond reproach, and still they've had to deal with that more often than I care for that for them. But that's life. I mean, they're going to have to deal with those things. And if they want to truly get credit for what they succeed in life, then because even if they are the most qualified person, there's going to be haters. There's going to be people who think that someone else should have gotten it, or they only got it because. And what they're really frustrated with is they just don't know how to react to why they didn't get it. And so it's I wish that they maybe didn't have that as much at an early age, but I do believe that will serve them well as they become adults.
Awesome. So it's going to be fun to see where they go on their journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said something that really stuck out with me. You can always change who you are. I mean, I've had friends, wow, I've been in this career for a couple decades and I want to change. It's okay to want to change. We only have one life. I have a friend I was talking to, she's been in the same career almost 30 years. And she's changing. And she said, I'm getting ready to turn 60 and I'm changing. And it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, we all have different purpose, goals, passions. And as far as the haters, I actually have sympathy for the haters, because really it comes down from a place of them being so unhappy.
That's right.
And I wish that they would be happy. I wish that they would take that energy and turn it to a positivity and do something.
Well, I agree with you completely on that. We hire over 100 new teachers every year now, and I still meet with them in groups of 5. I want to make sure they understand our vision and I want them to understand, quite frankly, my heart for this district, and just to make sure they're aligned with that. And if not, I give them a final chance to run. If this isn't going to be a match for you, but I challenge them, because education is different than every other business. We're not dealing with widgets. We're not dealing with merchandise. We're dealing with kids. Mm-hmm. So my challenge to them is to go as hard as they can, as long as they can, as passionately as they can for kids. And when they can't, quit. Mm-hmm. Do something else. Mm-hmm. Nothing. And everyone can look at of the new teachers can look at and identify a person on their campus in their district that has forgotten why they got into it. Mm-hmm. They've been beat down. Who knows what the circumstances are, but they have lost the love of what they do. And I just challenge the people that we bring in to Prosper that don't, you owe it to yourself for your own happiness. You owe it to the kids that we serve, that you only give them your best, and be honest enough with yourself that if that's not possible, that you go do something else with your life. I'm not even telling you to go to another district, because kids are kids everywhere. Do something else with your life. And I believe that to my core. And some, they are 3 years in, they realize, okay, oh gosh, this is too much. I can't do this. And I don't chastise them for that. I celebrate them for that. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I get frustrated with the ones that hang on with a death grip when they don't love what they do, because we're not as smart as we think we are. If we don't love what we do, the kids smell it. It's all over us.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we think we can Jekyll and hide that and cover that up from kids. No way. A good, quick example of that. We have to just be so conscious of our body language and everything else. And I I am so thankful and blessed for my job. So I'm in the hallway passing period at the high school one day, and a kid who never, I was always greeting, but he's not a social kid. He's not an engaging kid. But I've known him for a long time, and he's walking, and we have over 2,000 kids at the high school. He's walking in the hallway with the masses, and he goes through the crowd over to me. He goes, Dr. Watkins. And I was sort of taken back because he doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. And he goes, what's wrong with you? And I go, well, nothing. He goes, well, usually you're smiling and happy and everything else. And he goes, you're not that. I go, thank you for helping me correct that. I was upset about some stuff happening in the district, and it was written all over me. Had nothing to do with the kids. That was just written all over me. And I'm just, we are just impacted. We have so many little eyes on us, and we can't afford to not be at our best every minute of every day, because they'll take that, whatever, they'll interpret that however, and kids have a tendency to point the finger at themselves. He must be mad at me. Mm-hmm. Does that with me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so we have to be ultra, and I tell the new teachers, I go, if I'm doing anything out, because I'm out on the campuses every day. I mean, that's, and so and I tell the teachers, if I am coming into your space, if I'm coming in your classroom, if I'm on your campus and you don't get anything other than uplifted from me or encouraged, you need to kick my butt back to central admin, because this over here is not if I have a concern with you, we'll be in my office and we'll deal with it. But if I'm on the campus, I am not going to be cracking the whip on you when I'm coming into your classroom. That's not the environment for that. And so I witness that every day in others, and that young man that particular day just sort of validated what I knew to be true, but I just sort of got slapped in the face with it, that I'm not beyond that either. I'm trying to be sensitive about how everybody else is. I need to make sure I'm sensitive to myself too, and know that, hey, if I have a luxury teachers don't. I tell them that all the time. If I'm having a bad day, I can crawl into my office, shut the door, and not contaminate a soul. They don't have that. The kids are coming to them, mm-hmm. So they've got to be awesome.
So I have so much to ask and cover in such a short time.
I'm sorry. Feel free to do this when I go too much.
I'm apologizing to you because I just have so many questions. So first of all, with my kids' experience with teachers, I'm noticing a pattern, and I'm dying to ask. So many teachers I talk to say I could never be a middle school or high school teacher. Never, never, never. So much work. So what do you think it takes? Because I really admire any teacher, let alone middle school and high school. What do you really think it takes for them to truly put up with the stuff they have to put up with nowadays?
Well, I spent my principal days at middle school. I love middle school. Now, you don't get lukewarm opinions about middle school. Teachers either love it and it's their calling in life, or they hate it and would rather be burned at the stake than teach middle school. I'm the one that loves it, but I love all levels. And I think the ones that have, now I do believe that teachers have a calling for the particular assignment they have, so it doesn't mean that they have a calling to teach all kids.
Yes.
Kindergarten teachers have a calling to deal with kindergarten. My wife taught kindergarten for years and years, and I would go in and get all my hugs and have the snot ring around my jacket and all the hugs. But I was leaving. I was a secondary teacher. I was a high school teacher. So to deal with 22 5-year-olds all day long, for me, that would be a challenge. I'm thankful she can do it and others can do it. But the flip side is the elementary teachers would have to be on a danger watch to be considered for high school, because those teenagers, my gosh, no, they're this or that. But the teachers who understand the value of connection are the ones that are the most revered and the ones that are the most successful. So I've hired brilliant teachers before that were on paper just, I mean, off the chart, that struggled relationally and connecting with kids, and so their effectiveness was marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, and when you look at teenagers, whether it's middle schools, to me, it's just hilariously fun. I remember had a seventh grader come up to me. He goes, "Doc," and I was getting over a cold, so my voice was going in and out and everything else. He goes, "Dr. Watkins, we're studying about you in science." So I'm trying to think of how awesome that might be. And I go, "Really? What about it?" He goes, "Puberty." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Your voice is changing, right?" Because my voice was going in and out. He thought my voice was changing. And I go, "Man, maybe I will shoot up to 6'2". Maybe this is phase 2 of puberty. This would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, that is the funniest. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. That's something you see in a comic strip. You know, I totally agree on connecting. Totally agree. And I asked that, and you're probably right. Each of us have our own calling for age. That's brilliant what you said. And I remember I volunteered for 2 years for an organization, children age 12 to 13. That's really the age they make it or break it, going good or bad, they say.
Yeah.
And so I thoroughly admire, you have to connect with those kids and connect with them in such a positive way and be a positive role model. Because I remember when I used to volunteer for that, I thought, wow, these 12-year-olds, look what they're experiencing in life.
Yeah.
Times are totally different. I mean, I was not out having sex at 12 years old, you know, and for teachers, I just thoroughly admire them. And something else too, I would love to hear what you're experiencing in your school district. And I volunteer on a regular basis with the schools I have for years. I'm very active, JA schools, etc. That's one of my passions. And with that being said, so many teachers, I think I have observed they feel neglected by some parents. I'm not saying in your school district, but just in the different school districts I've lived in, I've observed it. And you go to the parent-teacher, meetings, conferences, and you look at the parents and they don't come from a place of appreciation. And I'll never forget raising my hand once and saying, can we do this to help you? Can we do this for you? And she almost started crying.
Yeah. I tell you what, there is, and some get offended when I say this, and I say this to my new teachers all the time. To become a teacher in the state of Texas is not the hardest path. There are many degrees that have a greater level of difficulty earning than the education degree. But to be a great teacher today, I don't know what is more difficult, more challenging than any other profession out there. So to become one, it's not, it's not a degree in physics or some of this other stuff, but to be a great one, once you've gotten to be a great one, good gracious. I mean, you got the state from this end saying you better get the kids to this level on this day, at this age, at this moment in time. You got, if a secondary teacher, as you point out too, it's not just 22. They might have 130 to 150 kids. Some of our teachers have as many as 200 kids in a day. So you just multiply that up to parents and expectations and everything else. And so, yes, it can be overwhelming. We spend the bulk of our energy in central administration trying to support our teachers in a way that maybe they would never realize in any other school district. That we want to certainly give them the tools that they need and the training they need to be successful. But beyond that, there's a lot to be said about emotional support. And we're very fortunate here. I love our community because you know what? If we fall short, they kick our tail. I'm okay with that. If we stub our toe or fall, but when our teachers go above and beyond and they're working hard for kids, our parents celebrate those teachers. So it's
That's good.
Yes. So I'm okay with that balance. That account. Hey, we're human. Sometimes it doesn't end up the way we hoped it would end up or whatever else. But our parents do, I think, an admirable job on celebrating our teachers. But the ones that I referred to that might have been in it 20, 25, 30 years, and I'm in my 29th year, that have been over the course of their career felt like a parent beat up on them unnecessarily, or admin didn't support them when something got challenged, or who knows what the dynamic. Those are points in their professional career that steal the joy out of what they're doing. And I challenge all our teachers all the time. Don't dare put me in charge or anyone else in charge of your joy. You control that.
Mm-hmm.
Do not empower me that way to where I steal your joy in life and what you're doing. And now sometimes I have to look in the mirror when I say that, when I'm sort of having a poor, pitiful me party with certain things. And thankfully I have people in my life that say, okay, practice what you preach. You're letting that person get the better of you. And sometimes of course, I'm probably not a good husband. When my wife would come home and she's frustrated with student X, or I hear what I would tell her after she would have her moment with me, and I would say, so what you're really telling me is the other 21 kids in your class are awesome, because I'm not hearing anything about them. I'm hearing about, this.
That's true.
And so now in that moment, does she want to hear that? No. But I mean, that's what we have to come to grips with. I mean, we get frustrated with this much when this much is tremendous. So part of our job is to really celebrate this much of our teachers. Yeah, we want to work hard for this. We want to make sure we want to get this as small or make it go away as much as we can. But we can't lose sight of this part. So, hey, it is, to your point, teachers so need and deserve any adoration, support that they can have, because they are busting. Today, being a teacher, when I taught, I can't, I don't sit there and say, when I taught, I had 6 preps, I had that. No, the demands today on teachers are significantly greater than it was when I was in the classroom. And I realize that. So I don't give them, I walk to school in the snow story. It's the demands from everybody, community, state, the district, and those that they impose on themselves. Because like I said, a parent doesn't want to hear that 99% of our kids pass if the 1% is their kid. If the 1% is their kid, 100% of their kid failed.
Yeah.
So those kind of stats and everything, that doesn't fly. We have to be 100% every day with every kid. That is a non-negotiable for us. I'll keep going on that, so I'll shut up.
No, it's fine. I wish we could talk forever. We got to get wrapping up. But so what do you think about any parent listening? Start observing, asking, do you need supplies? Or gift them a massage, or come in the classroom and staple papers. Or one year I had a teacher who, I kept volunteering and getting to the real issue, what she really needed. And she was so overwhelmed with organization. And so I went in 2 days, got it done. And she was almost in tears. She goes, this has been my stressor all year. Okay. I definitely have weaknesses. And when someone comes in and helps me out with those weaknesses, I know how that feels. It's like the biggest lift ever. So if you have a strength or a gift, whether it be buying a gift card, volunteering, donating supplies, being in there, whatever that gift is, just get out there and do it for them. Because for me to keep seeing these teachers almost cry and have this huge, it's just such a huge, powerful impact. And I wish we had more time. One question I'm dying to know, and I know this is probably set. So what I'm trying to understand, Dr. Watkins, is people who know me as a connector, support, and protector.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at different school districts, I admire the ones who make every volunteer go through a background check.
Mm-hmm.
So please help me understand why some school districts don't. They just let anybody in the community come in and volunteer.
Oh, there's no explanation for that. I mean, I don't, well, you can't in the state of Texas.
Good. Where I am?
That's crazy. I mean, that is beyond the pale. It is, and we do, most districts in Texas now, I mean, they have to go through the background check. They have to do that part of it. But anyone who comes on campus, anywhere at any time, we have a Raptorware system to where we scan their driver's license to make sure. Now that is very targeted. No nothing inappropriate with children or anything like that. That's what that pinpoints. So everyone is rescanned for that every time they come into a building.
Good.
That what you reference in Texas, that's a no. They're not going to do that in Texas. There is no perspective I can put on that would be, this might be why. I know why some districts wouldn't do it is because they think, well, that wouldn't happen here. All I know is everything that happens, I think could happen here.
Yeah, no, I'm like you. And so I'm glad we're on the same page, because where I live, not all school districts follow that. And so it blows my mind when I look at my kids' school, and I am so appreciative again for volunteers, don't get me wrong. So I'm talking to school, and they have all these businessmen and women come in, right, and volunteer. They don't even have children in the school. So right. But why are we not background checking? Because all it could take is one business person who appears to have good intent to come into the school. They don't know anything about them. So anyhow, I was dying to know. It's good to know about Texas. See, I learn something new every single day. I wish Colorado would go ahead and do that. So maybe someday.
Well, I can't imagine with all the things that happen around our country and there's such a heightened concern about safety and security and everything else, how that wouldn't be a no-brainer for everybody to do. I mean, forget if the state mandates it or not. I just can't imagine that even if that wasn't a requirement in Texas, in our community, good gracious alive. I mean, now they don't walk through metal detectors here yet. I mean, who knows what the future holds? But that we haven't felt the need for that, at the moment. But we don't let anybody on our camp. I mean, my gosh, we're very strict about. Some parents have been critical of us. Me. Well, we even have, you can't get into the building unless you're buzzed in, any building. And so they've even been critical of that. Well, you know who I am. Well, yeah, I know you by your face. We don't know about your life. So, I mean, we're always going to fall on the side of extra caution.
Good.
And know that, but most of the parents appreciate that.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm grateful for Texas for that, so I had to bring it up. So unfortunately, we've got to call a wrap.
I'm sorry.
I'm so grateful for everything you do in this world, Dr. Watkins. Thank you. And I'm so honored you're part of this book, Purpose Powered People, and I cannot wait to keep staying in touch with you, okay?
I appreciate that. Is there anything that I'm supposed to send to you or anything? I don't remember.
Nope, you're all good to go.
I'm good? Okay. Hey, thank you for your time.
Oh, of course, Dr. Watkins, of course. Okay, well, you have a fabulous day, and we'll keep talking, okay?
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.